What's up, guys? I'm back with some dart throws you can start in week 3. We'll kick it off with Baker Mayfield. The Bucs offense has looked decent so far through 2 games, and they go up against the Eagles on Monday night, who have given up the second most passing yards on the season, so you can ride the lightning with Baker. CJ Stroud had a big game in week 2, and I think he needs another one to beat the Jags this week. 7th in completions, 4th in passing yards so far on the season against the Jags defense, giving up the 10th most passing yards through 2 games. Fire him up. Lastly, Andy Dalton coming in for an injured Bryce Young against a banged up Seattle Seahawks defense. Not going to be a great one for the Red Rifle, but serviceable is the bar that we set for these dart throws. Slim pickings at running back right now, with guys like Gus Edwards and Zach Moss becoming focal points for our fantasy offenses. Roschon Johnson. The Bears are going to get wrecked this week by the Chiefs, and Roschon and Khalil Herbert have an almost even snap share when trailing. Roschon Johnson's been taking a majority of the target work, which I see him getting while they're behind. Even against a stout Chiefs defense, you can fire up that dart towards Roschon Johnson. Jaylen Warren, we're kind of taking a shot that he takes the reins a little bit more from Najee Harris, but through 2 games, he's averaging 6 targets per. And he goes against that Raiders defense, which is the 2nd worst defense in terms of points per game to the running back position. Wideouts, we're going to look at Marvin Mims Jr. He had a big week in week 2 with 2 receptions, 113 yards, and 2 touchdowns. There is major dud potential here. He only ran 7 routes last week, but I think that play last week could have earned him some more run. And against that potent Miami offense, I think he's ripe for a couple more deep ones. So chicks dig the long ball, fire up Marvin Mims. Josh Reynolds in Detroit. He is emerging as the wide receiver 2 for the Detroit Lions while Jamison Williams is suspended. Always a big play threat. He has 13 targets through 2 games and 2 touchdowns last week. This is another ride the lightning situation, but with a banged up Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think Josh Reynolds is going to give you something. Josh Palmer of the Los Angeles Chargers. Your team's got to be in pretty rough shape to be putting Palmer in there, but the Chargers are an offense we want to attach to, and they play against the Minnesota defense, which is a defense that we want to attack. Josh Palmer just missed a touchdown out the back of the end zone last week, and he got 5 targets that game as well. So I think, for a dart throw, you could do worse than Josh Palmer. Jonathan Mingo of the Carolina Panthers. He had 8 targets last week, albeit with Bryce Young and not Andy Dalton, but going up against the Seattle defense, giving up the 4th most fantasy points per game to the wide receiver position, and seeing that Mingo got 98% of the snaps last week, I think you're going to get a good one out of that 2nd round rookie. Tight ends, we're going to start with Dalton Schultz. He has 11 targets through 2 games, going up against a Jags D that's given up over 15 points per game to the tight end position, 6th most in the league. Luke Musgrave of the Green Bay Packers. He's got over 75% snaps in both games this season, almost up to 90% in week 2. Basically, a guy being on the field is what you want for a tight end dart throw, and Luke Musgrave is that. Jake Turd Ferguson of the Dallas Cowboys. He's seeing the 10th highest snap share of all tight ends so far this season, and Dallas is really looking for a secondary target alongside CeeDee Lamb. So you can fire him up against that Arizona defense, who's giving up the 4th most receiving yards to tight ends on the season. Jake Turd Ferguson, line him up.